Hey there, my sweet friends. I hope you are all doing well. In last week's video, we got into the bin of bases to create a new version of the original project by adding some small changes to the base to show how versatile they can be. And you all really seem to enjoy that, so I thought we would do that again this week. If that sounds good to you, then stick around and we'll make it together. I've got the fall woodland critter frames from my shop, and I'm going to be using these for the image on the front cover as well as the tip-in, so I'll get to use quite a few of these sweet images. I'm pairing that with the Give Thanks paper pad. This is a hot buy pad from Michaels. It is not current, but it would be perfect if you could find something in your own stash so that you are going through what you already have. And so this is just a nice combination of fall colors with a little bit of a more updated palette because it has that pretty green in there. And so I think this works well. So for today's project, I actually pulled two bases out of that bin. The first is a paper bag album, and it's created with white lunch style bags. I picked these up from Amazon. I love bag albums because they are really fast and easy to assemble, and if you get the pack from Amazon, you'll have loads of bags to create with. I'm also using this trifold cover. Now, it originally had a pocket inside that would hold inserts, but instead of that pocket, I want to join this with the bag album, and that brings the best features from both projects together. I'll link that bag album tutorial in the description with a timestamp, so you can go check that tutorial out as well. I want to make a few changes to this bag album for the purpose of this project, and that is because I do not wish to use what would be a pocket on the end of the pages. I do, however, want a little bit more of a sturdy page with a nicer finished edge. So I'm going to finish that with a piece of 65 pound weight cardstock. It is 6 1/8 inch high, and that will depend on the height of your bag. These are the ones from Amazon, but if you get different bags, you will have to adjust that measurement according to the bag that you find. And it is 12 inches wide. So I did already add my double-sided adhesive, and I will come back in and use my 2 glue combo. I think it's easier to position that inside and get everything lined up, and then just fold that page over. Then you can open that book and repeat that process, but for the inside. Now I am only going to finish this front page and what would be the middle, and that is because I'm going to adhere the back page to the base. So it does not need to have a finished edge, and you will not be handling that, so you would not even notice that extra detail. So let's go ahead and fold that over. And now we have all of these beautiful layers that make this a super sturdy page and a nice finished edge. So I'm going to skip this center section, which will be our pocket, and I'll do this page just the same as the front cover. The first piece we have for the base is 110 pound cardstock. It measures 6 1/8 by 11. And remember that 6 1/8 depends on the bag that you choose. And so you do want to make some score lines in this so that you can build in the room that you need in the spine for all those layers inside. So I have my first score line at 1.5. And then the next one is at 2 3/4. The next one is at 8 3/4. And the last one is at 9 3/4. So we're going to have 1 inch of spine on this side and 1 1/4 inches on this side. And so that will give us room for all the things that we want to include. Now we do need those pages to wrap around. And so I have 2 more pieces cut that are 6 1/8 by 12 and scored at 6. And so I'm just going to add my 2 glue combo here. I think it will be easier to hold this in place and then bend over that portion and adhere that right along the edge. And we'll add a tiny bit more glue here. And then I will pull tape from this side as well. And just fold that over. That will capture that piece in between the layers. So this is going to be our full-size page. Make sure you press it well to get a good contact. The double-sided tape will hold it in place while the glue sets up. So now you have one cover. You want to repeat that same process for this side as well. So here is the cover, and when it's folded up, you can see that we have a spine a little bit larger on the left and one smaller on the right. The last thing to do to finish the base is to add that paper bag album. And so of course we want to use our 2 glue combo and position that right along those score lines, keeping it straight and even along the bottom as well. And now you have the pages inside, and we'll just go ahead and add our pattern paper and cardstock to the base while we can still get it pretty flat. And so I just have my cardstock cut to be 6 high by 1 1/8 wide. The pattern paper is 5 7/8 by 1. This will be for the left-hand page. And for the right hand, the cardstock is 6 by 7/8. And the pattern paper is 5 7/8 by 3/4. Be much easier to do this now before we add all those bulky layers. So what is really nice about this album as well, that the full-size pages are all going to be the same measurement, so you can cut these pretty quickly and easily. I'm choosing an oatmeal colored cardstock, so it's lighter than craft color, and I think it just kind of goes with this collection and the images as well. And so the measurement for the cardstock is 6 high by 5 7/8 inch wide. The pattern paper is 5 7/8 by 5 3/4. This would be a great place to add some journaling because there is some lighter color background. And so that would be the first page you would see. And then I also have that same stripe for this top portion when we get into that paper bag area. I want to have a coordinated but different pattern for the outsides of this. And so I have just chosen this really beautiful floral. So now I want to add that printable. And so I've just given it a border of that cardstock, and I'm going to capture that between the pattern papers and the base. You can add this as one to the book. I also added a little bit of stickles there to give it some detail. Now, when I add borders for the tip-ins, I would typically add 1/8 of an inch for each section. Apparently, I was measuring with my heart instead of a ruler on this one, so it's a little bit wider, but I'm going to embrace that imperfection and continue on. So the next page is going to have that sweet mouse. I'm just previewing this before I add my tip-in because of that difference in the measurement of the height to the width. So I want to make sure I have everything going in the right orientation. I chose to leave the backs of these tip-ins as just cardstock. This is a great place for journaling to be added or additional pictures. That way you're not having to fight with a pattern paper. So now we can begin to flip the pages on the bag portion. And remember, we still have the same size paper for the full-size pages. So I'm just picking another pattern from that paper pad and using the same measurements and cardstock border. Here's another one of those printable images. I think this is such a nice way to utilize most of a printable by making them tip in so that you can kind of disperse those images throughout your project. And so here will be the left-hand page. This pattern is directional, so it's easier to see that I've got it going in the right direction. And this covers this side. Now remember that I mentioned earlier that this portion is going to be a pocket, so we do want to make sure to cover that with our collection paper as well. And so our cardstock is 6 high by 3 3/4 wide, and the pattern paper is 5 7/8 by 3 5/8. I'm just going to use that same pattern on both sides for a consistent look, but if you are working through your stash and you like to mix things up, definitely do that so that you are going through the paper that you already have, and then you can make room for new paper. So this is a nice combination of a geometric with kind of an all-over floral, and so that helps it from looking too busy. So here is this set of pages with their tip-ins in the pocket. We've got one more set in here, remember. I'm still going to combine my large all-over pattern with the geometric, so I picked these beautiful leaves, and I'm adding my tip-in there to the side and adhering it right to the book. We've added so many paper layers that this book is going to be very heavy and very chunky and sturdy, and that is just how we like it. So let's go ahead and finish this last page on the inside with our tip-in, and then add it to the book. And for a geometric, I just picked this stripe that was off-cut from those original 2 pages that we added. I think that pretty orange and bluish green color work really well with those leaves. So let's finish this side as well. Okay, so I have really been enjoying using those critter images for my projects, and this is just one that did not unfortunately make it into the book, but I just wanted to mention that the image I think is a badger. I'm not quite sure, but I do think it's funny that badgers in England are kind of portrayed as being sweet, and they might invite you over for tea and little sandwiches and give you crumpets. I don't know what a crumpet is, but it sounds good. But if you run into a badger in America, you want to go the other way, because that dude will kill you and eat your face off. Badgers in America are not sweet and friendly like the English ones. So that is just a travel tip for you. Okay, now that I'm done with that tangent, I will start working on the outside. We do have those spines already covered, so that's good. And because this is a trifold, you don't really have to add that ribbon closure, but am I still going to add the ribbon closure? Oh yes, I am, because I do love my ribbon, and this is one of my favorites, Lime Juice, from the Stitched Satin collection from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and I think it is so beautiful. So I'm just going to measure this out as I would, making sure to have enough on the side to tie a generous bow. Someone asked me in a previous video how much I measure out, and I just measure with my heart. I don't know. There's no exact formula, I think. I just like to have a really good sized bow. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue. That will capture that until we get it covered. go ahead and do the same for the back. Here is my pattern paper for the back cover. Remember, all of these pages have the same measurement. I'll flip over this book. Maybe it will be easier to work if I flatten it out a little bit. So this is a beautiful kind of solid border. It has a pattern, but it's very low contrasting, and I picked that because I do want to layer more patterns on top. And so here is that plaid, same from the back. This layer I'm putting up on a spacer so that we can begin to build some dimension. Now here's a pattern that was not in the original paper pad, but I just thought that I wanted a kind of neutral pattern to go on top of that plaid. And I can also add a doily to help neutralize that background a little bit. Here is the image from the printable. And remember, I did add stickles to that for some extra detail. This is on a spacer as well, so lots of dimension here. Have my flower arrangement created with flowers that I made that coordinated with that collection. There's some die cut foliage and netting and twine and more of that pretty lime juice stitch satin, and that will anchor this corner. A beautiful leaf charm here. I think this is the perfect size to just balance that large floral arrangement in the corner. And so I'm going to add that with string. Run that into some hot glue. I want to overlap the edge of my printable, so I'm just holding that in position right where I want it to land. Remove the excess. Now don't forget about our pockets on the inside. We do want to have some inserts to include there, so let's open this book back up. And so I'm going to alternate the patterns that I've already cut into, just so I can be a little bit more frugal with this collection. And so I'm going to start these inserts with a layer of 110-pound cardstock. They are 4.5 high by 4 1/4 wide. The cardstock is 4 1/8 by 4 3/8. And the pattern paper is 4 by 4 1/4. I've just got 2 for each one of these pockets, so I'll tuck that into the side there, and you can see how easy these are to get in and out because they do extend beyond the edge of that pocket. So let's go ahead and add some here. This is also adding a lot of layers and sturdiness, and so this will be great to make this book chunky. There is additional room in here for more flat keepsakes and mementos. So remember, we have built in enough room for this to be really filled in when you add your pictures and journaling. Okay, let's go ahead and tie this up. I'm just going to clip that ribbon at an angle so it won't fray. And of course, I want to add a couple of sequins to the cover here as well. So that's going to be it for our project. If you're enjoying these tutorials using previously created bases, let me know in the comments and give me a big thumbs up for this tutorial. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe and join my crafty little family. Remember, you can find links for the bag album tutorial and the printable in the description below, as well as links for all of our socials. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.